Greetings. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dane Webster. I'm the director of the Digital Animation Center. You might not see me as much because in addition to that, I'm also the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs. So I'm always gallivanting across campus. But I wanted to record this tutorial just to give you a brief overview, answer any anticipated questions as it relates to the Digital Animation Center portfolio review. You were looking at a screen cast of me in a little picture window, which I actually can't see as I'm recording, and website. So this is the DAC portfolio review website that you should have already been given access to, and Jeremy Brown, one of our instructors in the DAC, as we call it, in the DAC, is overseeing some of this process, has embedded some info in here. So many of the answers to your questions about the process and how do I assemble my video and things like that are going to be found at this site. And we'll look at this briefly here in a second. But I, just wanted to say that we're very excited that you're applying for the DAC. I currently am teaching one of the freshman animation foundations courses, and of course we have the amazing Ashley Hoffman teaching the rest of our 1810 and 1820 courses this past year. So I know we have a very talented group of students, and we're excited and eager to look at these portfolios that you all are going to create here in a month and a half at the end of May. So first of all, as you know, the DAC is a restricted program. You have to apply to get into the program. So I want to talk about just that process a little bit, and also maybe give you a little history. I've been the director of the DAC for this is the third year, so third time we've been doing this. And each year we have different size cohorts going through. Then when I come talk to classes, I always give them a basic rundown of how many that we've taken. 2 years ago, I guess this would be the current juniors, I think we had close to 60, a little less than 60, and we took 50. It was it was the largest group that we'd ever had applied. It was also an extremely talented group. So we took 50. That was difficult for us to take that many. We had to make some little tweaks to our scheduling and class assignments so that we could fit them all in. But we wanted to do so because we had a lot of great students that met the guidelines, which I'll talk about here in a second, of why we accept someone into the DAC. Last year, we had a smaller group. I think we had close to 40, maybe just over 40 apply, and I think we took 35, which is probably a lower end of what I anticipate our target is. I did do a sampling, and I've looked at census data for the DAC cohort right now, and I think there's low to mid 50s of students that are identified as pre-animation. I certainly hope every single one of those apply. Sometimes some students maybe change their mind. Of course, we've had some students kind of that are not listed as pre-animation end up applying. So I don't know for sure how many apply until you all apply. But obviously we're getting a good sense of that as we look at the students have been added. In fact, I haven't even had a chance. Maybe after this video, I'll see how many are entered into the Canvas site. So anyway, if it's a high or low to mid 50s, I think our target is somewhere around 42 to 45 students that we would accept. Now, we don't accept just based on the numbers, right? And this is the statement that I use with all the DAC faculty when we do with the review. We're looking for craftsmanship, and we're looking for creativity. We're looking for professionalism as it relates to how you submit your portfolio, and have you followed the instructions that we're going to give you about how to do this. But maybe to boil this all down, instead of going through this site and looking at all the little details, I always tell the faculty does this student have a reasonable probability of being successful in our program, right? In their freshman year, and in addition to other courses that they're taking, and maybe include some of those examples in their portfolio, the demo reel that they send in. Do we see a student that shows promise, or maybe a whole bunch of promise, right? Someone that's clearly very engaged in animation and knows that they want this to be their career, really shows promise and potential and skill. But that's if we boil it all down, that's the metric that we use. Does this student, do you, applying for this program, in the work that you present to us, and also, we take into account how you've been doing in classes. We talk, the faculty that are teaching, especially, we have Ashley Hoffman teaching and myself, the feedback that we would provide. We try to help answer that question. Does this student show that potential for success, right? So it is competitive, but we do accept a fair number of you all. But it's not just about a numbers game. We have to be conscious of how many were in the program and what do we have space for, and how do we make class assignments. That it's all kind of mashed up into one. But we always look for quality. Okay, the process itself. This is the landing page for the Kemacite. Maybe you've already started looking at this. One thing I want to address is you see the deadline for those applications is May 31st. So we do this after the semester. This might seem odd, but we do it after the semester because some students take 1810 in the fall and Fine 1820, the animation foundations, in the spring, or they do it vice versa. Or we have some students, especially transfer students maybe, that come in mid-year, and so they take both 1810 and 1820 in the spring semester. So in the interest of equity and fairness, we wait and do the portfolio review after the semester is done. And we also build in enough time that you all can take the work that you've created, and if you're doing both of those classes, you get the full entirety of the semester to create all the work that you would in those two classes. Those classes are designed to be portfolio builders, right? The work that you're doing in those classes, we fully expect to see that as the majority, if not the entirety, in your demo reel, right? They're designed that way. So once you complete those classes, if you want to make any tweaks or you need to assemble the reel, you also have to write a letter of intent for us. We want you to have enough time to do that. And just where the Memorial Day fell, and also just because of COVID and wanting to make sure students had enough time, we've set May 31st as the timeline. It usually takes about a week for us to review and figure out where our cutoffs are and get everything lined up, and then we go from there. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Again, because we have this portal, we will be sending out email notifications to let you know, as we get close to the process, answer any of your questions, and after you submit your reels, let you know exactly how we're doing in the review process and when we notify you. Okay, so that's all up here on this landing page. You're in the middle of registration right now. It might sound a little crazy, but we've done this before in the past. It always works just fine. So you currently would not be able to register for the next in the sequence of courses for the DAC, surface modeling and, hard surface modeling and texturing and surfacing and shaders in the fall semester, because you haven't met the prerequisite, right? You haven't been accepted into the DAC. So that might cause you a little stress. Keep in mind, those classes are only for DAC students, right? So you're not in danger of not getting into the class itself. We're holding those spaces for however many students we accept. And basically what happens is once we review and we come up with the list of those students that are going to be accepted, I forward that to the director of advising, who also works for me as the associate dean, Karen Hunter-Bird, and she goes into the system, she takes those names and automatically reassigns you from pre-animation to digital animation students so that you meet the prerequisite and then you can register for those classes. So just keep in mind those as placeholders where they are in the schedule and start to build your schedule around it. But that's how it works as far as your scheduling as we go forward. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. The demo reels, Jeremy has created some tutorials about those, the exact nature of what you submit. I just wanted to emphasize here, and Jeremy will reemphasize in his tutorials. We want quality, not quantity, right? We would rather see 40 seconds of amazing than a minute and a half of mixed. Some good, some bad, right? It shows that you are developing an eye and that you can tell this is my strongest work and this is not my strongest work, right? You don't have to show us everything. You have to show that promise, right? That probability in the work that you can be successful. And part of that probability is developing an eye as a creative, as an artist, as an animator or a modeler or whatever you might want to go on to be, that you can see good work and that you can self-edit. And that's very important and part of that process. So when you do these reels, just keep in mind quality over quantity. A short reel with really great work, there's nothing wrong with that. Especially you're freshmen, right? You're not going to have a 10-minute reel. And even if you worked at Pixar and you've been doing it for years, you would still have a demo reel that would be no longer than a minute and a half at the absolute tops. So a short reel is totally fine. You can see the Kemacite is pretty straightforward. You've probably already looked at it. Jeremy has a lot of these questions in here. These are standard to a lot of past reviews and the questions that we get for you all. I will say, you've been notified about a change in the grading policy. So, if a student gets, let's say you get a B- in the class, maybe you were doing good work, but you just had one assignment that just didn't work out, you didn't do a good job, and so that had an effect on your overall grade. And, instead of having a B- and not wanting that to have impact to your GPA, again, based on the email from the provost that went out to all students, you could apply for a P+, right? That will only happen after the fact of the semester. I only say this so that there is a requirement to get C or better for the DAC. That actually is going to be modified a little bit. There'll be more information later. For the most part, I would anticipate if you have a good demo reel, you also have good grades from these two required classes. But I see this up here. This has been the stated prerequisite, but because of the new grading policy, this will be modified a little bit here. Okay. Here's the accepted. I've given you some of those numbers. So anyways, take your time and look through this. Jeremy has some great guidelines and tutorials about how to create that reel. And then when you submit your reel, basically you're submitting 2 assignments. The first one will be your demo reel, and the second assignment will be a letter of intent. And that letter of intent is, what is it, have you researched I see a little typo here. This is actually, I shouldn't say that date, right? So here's the deadline. Where was I? Oh, and so in the letter, talk about what you know about the industry. Is there a particular area that you want to specialize in? Are there, some people want to go into feature films and some people want to use animation for different things. Anything that tells us about who you are and what your interests are helpful. And I always like to say, how do you see yourself being a good citizen of the DAC? Because we do a lot of collaborative work, especially in your junior and senior year. So talking about how you interface with your fellow classmates and in the classroom is important to talk about. But it's a chance for us to get to know you a little bit, especially those faculty that you have not had in class already. Okay, so if you have any questions, obviously you can submit, you can just send an email through this. We'll get notified and we will send any information out as needed. So please let us know if you have any questions in advance. If you have any concerns, we want to talk you through any of that. The DAC can be a really special place, and it has special faculty, it has special students. in its unique program within the College of Arts and Media. So I'm thrilled that you're excited and interested in applying, and I look forward to reviewing your work when you do apply.